PowerPoint slide. And so after we finish our seminar today, I will send the latest updates to all of you. So please don't be alarmed if you see something different in my presentation today. So as mentioned by Dr. Ponsavan today, I would like to share with you about iodine deficiency among school children, in particular in primary school in Phou Kut City, Xieng Khouang province. What I would share with you today is in this outline, and I will start with the background of this study and explain to you why did I start a project on iodine deficiency in Lao PDR. And so I will talk about PS project, which is one of the project under the support of the Princess of Thailand. And I also would like to explain about the rationales and objectives, methods, and then I would I think most important is the result, and then we would share with you some conclusion and acknowledgement. So this is the outline of my presentation for today. Now, first of all, as I mentioned earlier, we started off with a project. This is the full name of the project. This is a project for the health training and health sector training for health workers from Lao PDR under the support of Princess Serinthorn project, which is the story behind of this study. And we receive trainees from Lao PDR to our institution every year, not just for nutrition, but for all types of health workers. And for this particular study was the 23rd batch in 2021. And the training was organized from February 1 to March 17. And it was during the COVID-19 outbreak. So most of the training were done online, but it's not a full day training. If you still remember if I remember correctly, I think it's only the morning session. And in that year, we have 3 participants joining the training. The first one who helped us today for the opening session, we have Dr. Kwan Heung Xieng Khouang, Dr. Thong Mai from Xieng Khouang Health Department, and the third one is Dr. Chan Sathit from the University of Health Science in Vientiane. So I would like to once again say good morning to all of you. And these are the 23rd batch of trainees. Now, in terms of the lectures was more of an explanation session about nutrition. And we had altogether 21 lectures, which are very quite dense in content. And apart from the presentation or lectures, we also conduct other activities because half of the training we provide is lectures and then clinical practice or training. But in 2021, the outbreak of COVID-19 was at its peak. So we did not organize any field visit. So we reorganized the field trips in 2022. So we essentially merged the trainees from two batches, so 21 to 2022. But unfortunately, Dr. Kwan Heun and Dr. Jansatit could not join us with these field trips. And here is the picture of that field trip where we organized a study tour in Ubon Hospital. We also took a tour at the nutrition office. And what is most important and the reason behind the establishment of this project is that because this is the first time that we provided the funding for researchers. And that's the reason for the 3 doctors and other doctors convene for a discussion about using this funding for researchers. And after much discussion, we came up with this project research, and we call it the Survey of Iodine Status in Primary School Children from Phou Kut City in Xieng Khouang. So this is the result of a lot of deliberation and discussion. And as I mentioned earlier, iodine is still an important issue in not just Lao PDR, but also for countries in the region. And that's why we selected this project. And back then, when we discussed with the team members, we asked ourselves, why did we have to pay attention to iodine? Because as mentioned by Dr. Pansavan earlier on in her opening remark, that iodine is one of the important micronutrient for human bodies. On a daily basis, we only need a little bit of iodine, although it's minimal, but it's essential and we cannot live without it because it's the precursor for creating thyroid hormone from pregnancies, from the first week pregnancy. And this thyroid hormone is important for the growth of children. And in their early ages, it would greatly influence their development of the body. It also helps with mental and cognitive development. And so iodine is significant for the development of the brain as well. That's why there has some recommendations on iodine consumption on. So here is the chart from WHO and UNICEF ICC IDD from 2007, which present the appropriate amounts per day for each group age. So you see that the unit is microgram, which is very small, but still it's essential. You can see that children from under the age of 5, they would need 90 microgram. 6 to 12, they would need about 120. Adolescents and adults would need about 150, while pregnant women and those who are giving breastfeeding, they would need more than that because they not only need it for themselves, but also for their children. So here is the chart of how much iodine is needed per day. Like as mentioned earlier by Dr. Ponsavan, when the body lacks iodine, it can produce several consequences. And here is the chart that show what could happen to our bodies. And we call this all of these symptom iodine deficiency disorders or IDD. And it can happen in all ages from fetus. So if there is a serious deficiency, then it could result in spontaneous abortion or stillbirth. And for neonates, there could be problems of improper growth of certain body's function and also cognitive function. And during child and adolescent, there could be some impair to their mental and physical development. And for adults, if there is an IDD, then there could be a problem with impaired mental function or iodine-induced hyperthyroidism, like shown in this picture. I don't know if you still have a lot of this problem in Lao PDR, but if you look at the current statistic of Thailand, this IIH is quite rare in Thailand. We only see a few of these cases now, but we have other problems. So this is just a picture illustrating what could happen if our body is deficient in iodine. So this is the current situation about iodine deficiency all over the world from Dr. Zimmerman and Dr. Anderson researchers. And this is just an overview. Now, if you look at these pictures from around the world, you can see, please take a look at the purple color, both dark and light purple color shows the problem with iodine deficiency by using the sample from urine of these school-age children to determine iodine deficiency. If it's light or dark gray, then it means they have received adequate iodine, which is about 100 to 299 microgram. If it's either red or orange, it signifies excess iodine consumption. We talked about the lack of iodine and what could be the symptoms, but then if you have an excess of iodine, it could also result in some problem as well, such as high rate of heartbeats. And if you look at this chart, you would see that Laos and Thailand are among countries that receive enough iodine. But I would like to stress that for Lao PDR, the urinary iodine concentration test conducted here, I think was done around 10 years ago, if I remember correctly, which show that Lao are in the adequate group, but I am not certain if this data is still accurate. But in Thailand, we conduct the tests every year. But from this graph, you might feel that Lao PDR are in the adequate group, but just be careful. It's a small caveat. And from this chart, you could see what type of tests are available for different types of iodine deficiency. Usually, we conduct the tests for iodine in urine because normally when we take iodine, 90% of iodine consumed, it would have to be excreted to our urine. So instead of checking our blood, we can take the test from our urine, and the urinary iodine concentration is a good indicators of iodine deficiency. And then we also check for goiter rate by palpation. And then we also have the thyroid hormone checked, but these are more complicated. So we mostly use UIC. And there's also WHO's recommendation on UIC tests from school age children and use that as a mean representative data for all age group. Because if the school age children consume enough iodine, we can presume that all other age groups also consume enough iodine. And as I mentioned earlier on, that after we determine on doing the study on iodine, the doctors went back to Lao PDR and find out the current situation of iodine consumption in Lao PDR, and we found that in 6 years ago, the prevalence of iodine consumption is 89.2%, but in Xieng Khouang it's 87.6%, and the actual ratio is 90%. The national standard should be 90%, so this is slightly slower. And we also conducted the salt quality test, and we found that many of these salt did not meet the standard of WHO. If we take a look at data from 9 salt manufacturers, only 2 out of 9 produce salt with the required standards that meet the required standard, which is 640 to 60 ppm. And for Xieng Khouang, they don't have the salt manufacturer, but the population in Xieng Khouang purchase iodine salt for their daily consumption, and we have conducted 125 samples from 10 brands available in the market, and we found that none of this brand or this salt meet the standard requirement for iodine. But this is data only for Xieng Khouang. And as I mentioned, Lao PDR still has not conducted any studies on the UIC of primary school students currently. And this is the background why our 3 doctors from the nutrition center and were interested, and the health department from Xieng Khouang were interested in this issue. So the first objective is to determine the iodine deficiency prevalence for school from the age of 6 to 12 in Phou Kut, Xieng Khouang. And the second objective is to determine the quality of iodine salt in Phou Kut, Xieng Khouang. So this is the main objective that our researchers were interested in. The methodologies we use for data collection, we organize the cross-sectional study where we randomly select the parents and school-age children from P1 to P5, age 6 to 12, from 4 schools, including Phieng Luang, Phu Vieng, Bung Man, and Na Sai Thong schools. So these are 4 schools who were selected for iodine deficiency studies. And we use our questionnaire survey to ask the parents about the use of salt and the consumption of seafood. And this is the picture of Dr. Thong Mai have a team meet with his team during a team discussion. Dr. Thong Mai was the one who spearhead the study in Xieng Khouang, and the next one is the picture of him interviewing the parents. In addition to that, we also collect the other nutrition data. For example, we measure the weight and the height of children. We also collect the sample of the salt using titration method at the Xieng Khouang Health Department. We also collected the sample from the students' urine to determine the amount of iodine. And this is Dr. Thong Mai collecting the urine sample. And in the year that Dr. Thong Mai collected the urine sample, we still were under the threat of COVID-19. So the sample of this urine that Dr. Thong Mai collect was asked to be kept in Laos temporarily because they could not be sent to Thailand back then. But in 2022, when Dr. Thong Mai had the opportunity to visit Thailand for his field study, he carried all of this urine sample in a large plastic foam bag. My understanding is that you cross the border on a bus and you put all of this urine sample inside the ice box to keep them until it arrives at Mahidol University, and the Institution of Nutrition at Mahidol also freeze the sample and then conduct the ICP-MS analyzation at our Institution of Nutrition. This is a rather new method. In the past, we used the fluorescence method, but from here on, most of the urine tests for iodine would be done through this method, but it's slightly more expensive. But most important thing is that the studies on human must be approved by the Committee on Health Studies Moral from the Ministry of Health to certify that this research is done in ethically and morally correct. And our institution would be responsible for conducting the analysis, and we will inform you of the result. And here are some of the results. But this is just a preliminary result, which is more descriptive. So our team from Xieng Khouang has collected 367 sample from 367 households. Which also mean we interview more than 367 households, which is much larger than sample size we calculated. The sample size that we calculated initially was 364 or 5, but we collect 367. So if you look on this side, we divided the living area into urban and rural area, and we would see that about 73% are in urban area and 27% in rural areas. In the survey that we conduct, we asked the parents if they know about iodine salt. So that's one question in this survey that asks about that question. You can see that about 48% of the people say that they know, but this is just a question asking whether they know, and 48 say yes, while 52% say they do not know about iodine salt. We also have additional question asking what types of salt they use in their household. Are they iodine salt or non-iodine salt? And if you look at this information, 76.6% of the parents that answered the survey say they use iodine salt. Only 2% say they are not iodine salt, and about 21% say they don't know. They are not sure if they are consuming salt with iodine or not. Now, when we look at the data from the students itself, we collected, as I mentioned, we collected the sample from the urine, and we collected the sample from 367 students, of which 166 or 45.2% are female, and 201 students or 54.8% are male students. Well, they are quite balanced, quite almost the same. And on the right side, you will see the segregation by grades from P1 to P5. So mostly the ratio is about 19 to 20, but you would see that the fifth grade, they might be slightly lower than the other age group because they are more than 12. So we only have 15% from grade 5 or P5. And as I mentioned previously, we also conducted other nutrition status for our students. So here is a graph of the weight and height of children, and using the WHO standards. We take a look at the stunting level. We also take a look at the underweight, wasting, obesity. So we divide them into 4 groups of problems. You can see that the more problem with stunting among this population group is about 23.2%, which is rather high. Underweight is at about 16.3%, and wasting is about 3.8%. And the other problem, which is not only an issue in Lao PDR, but also in Thailand, we have 9.5% of students who are obese. So this is the problem that I would like to show about related to nutrition among children. Again, this is only for these children from this school. It's not representative of the entire country. And the mean SD for the weight is about 23.2 kilogram, and the height is about 121 centimeters. Now let's take a look at the sample from salts. As I mentioned, we collected the sample from the salt used in the household. We conducted the analysis of iodine in salt using titration method at the Xieng Khouang Department of Health. We collect 362 sample. I also divided the salt based on the WHO recommendation about the appropriate iodine in salt, which should be at around 20 to 40 ppm. And out of these 362 sample, only 8.8% meets the requirement of 20 to 40 ppm. And you can see that this is rather low number. And you can see that more than 80% has iodine lower than 20%, and 30%, and of which 30% does not have any iodine at all. There's only a few of these brands which has iodine more than 40 ppm. Which show that we still have a problem with the quality of iodine salt. This could be the problem with the manufacturing process or transportation or storing problem. But from the sample that we collect from Phou Kut in Xieng Khouang of the iodine salt available in the market are still a problem. And this is the heart of the study. We want to know the children that we conducted the study with to determine if they have any iodine deficiency. And from the sample, the total sample is actually 367, but we removed some, and because there were an outlier, so we eliminate some of this data. So altogether, we have 363 data. And if you look at this pie chart, you would see that we divide them into different levels of UIC. You can see that the standards of UIC should be 100 to 200 microgram per liters. These are normal rate, but if it's lower than this, we will consider that they have iodine deficiency. If it exceeds 200, then it could signify problem of excess of iodine. If you look at the green portion of this pie chart of 363 students, they have a normal range of iodine. And if you add that with the purple color, that would be about 47.6%, which is lower than 50% of this population group. But if you look on the other side from the maroon, orange, and yellow color, you would see that the iodine deficiency is about 52.4%, and they are showing problems from iodine deficiency. And the standard is about 95.3 microgram per liters. The mean of UIC for this group is 95.3. And we can also convert the iodine found in the urine and convert that back to the amount of consumed iodine on a daily basis. And based on the information that we have, we can convert back that 52% of they consume about 52 micrograms per day. But as I mentioned previously, they should receive about 90 to 120 microgram of iodine per day. So the consumption rate is still much lower than recommended. So this is the current status of iodine in the sample of the students. And as I mentioned, we have 4 schools, and we are showing you on this slide about the different iodine status from these different schools. As mentioned earlier, the standards for iodine is 100 microgram per liters. Only 2 schools pass this criteria, which is Phú Viếng and Pung Man. This is above the standard because both receive about 140 microgram per liters. But if you look at Nha Sai Thong, they are almost there. Just a little bit more, they would meet the requirement or the standard. But for Pieng Luang school, they are more than half below the standards, which is interesting. Maybe I would like to ask Thong Mai to conduct the study or another visit to these 4 schools to determine why are there such a big differences between iodine found in the urine. Is it because of the location where the school is established? Is it the difference between the urban and rural area? So in conclusion, in our studies, we found that for students in Phou Kut, Xieng Khouang, there's still a problem of stunting at 23.2, and the underweight is about 16.3, wasting 3.8, and obese 9.5. I am not sure if these figures is higher or lower than other studies in Laos, but if you look at this number, you can still see that there's still a problem, especially in children who have demonstrating stunting problem. And for the numbers of salt that meet the requirement or the quality of 20 to 40 ppm is only 8.8%, which is very low and signify a problem. And the household that use iodine salt is only 76.6. We need to be at least 90 to 98%. And most interesting is that this group of students, more than half of them, are displaying the iodine deficiency symptoms from the UIC test. So I have some recommendation based on this study, and I think measures to control the standard of iodine salt should be scrutinized, and quality control assurance standard should be established or tightened, and the Ministry of Health might or should conduct the surveillance on iodine deficiency among different populations, for example, students or pregnant women. And this would be another group of population that will require more iodine than other group. And I'm not sure if Lao PDR has done any studies on iodine level of pregnant women, but for Thailand, we conduct studies both from school-age children and pregnant women about their iodine level. So these would be our two recommendations on the quality of iodine salt and the surveillance for high-risk groups such as students and pregnant women. So maybe this is something to consider for Lao PDR. But I understand that in LSIS, you would also have a study that tests the quality of salt, but the key thing is that once we know the quality of the salt, what should we do next? As I mentioned, iodine salt is one of the main measures that is implemented worldwide to address this problem. But of course, for pregnant women, special consideration must be placed. For example, in Thailand, we ask pregnant women to take supplements to iodine tablets during pregnancy. So if you need any support or recommendation in the future, please let us know. I would like to say a few words to thank people who are involved. First, I would like to thank the Princess Serinthorn project, which allow me to meet all of wonderful doctors in Laos. And also, I would like to thank TICA, the Thailand International Cooperation Agencies, who provided the main funding for the studies. Also, would like to thank Mahidol University and the Institute of Nutrition for organizing this project. And I would like to thank everyone at the Ministry of Health, Lao PDR, who are involved in these studies. And thank you, Dr. Kwan Huan, Thong Mai, Jansatit, for making this project possible. And last but not least, I would like to thank all of the students and parents and teachers who were involved in this study. I understand that Dr. Thong Mai talked with our teachers and asked the teachers to help with the measurement of the students' bodies. And if I forgot to mention anyone, I apologize. And lastly, I would like to make a little bit of information announcement. Next week, the Institution of Nutrition in Thailand will organize a 3-day seminar on food and nutrition policy. We received the funding support from the European Union for organizing this seminar, where we would have 12 participants from Lao. My understanding is that Dr. Ponsavan will be joining us, if I understand correctly. And the objective of this seminar is to show the importance of food and nutrition policy. And I understand that at the moment, Lao PDR has plan on policy on food and nutrition, but we would like to hear what kind of problem you are facing and what can we do to help you. And Dr. Graisit Tantonsirin would be the key speakers of this 3-day seminar. The seminar will be organized at the International of Nutrition, and we can meet and discuss about the current nutrition policy in Lao and what kind of support you need in Lao PDR. So just a small announcement, and once again, thank you everyone for joining us and for listening to the result of these studies. And I hope that this information would be useful for Lao authorities for developing its policy and measures to address iodine deficiency in the future. And as I mentioned, the Mahidol University or the Institution of Nutrition, or myself and everyone is more than pleased to provide any support Lao PDR needs. And that will conclude my presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sueppong. Because in our chat, we received several questions from FDD. What kind of advocacy what kind of recommendations that we should encourage for increasing the consumption of iodine? I would like to share some experience in Thailand. The current policy in Thailand mainly, well, first we have to rely on WHO standards, which we recommend the consumption of iodine salt mainly, because this is a standard used worldwide to consume iodized salt. So when we use salt for cooking, we should be careful to monitor if there are iodized salt. And in Thailand, we feel that some of the population might not be interested in using salt, but in Thailand they prefer to use fish sauce or soy sauce instead of salt. So on this trend, the Ministry of Health has issued recommendation to add iodine into these types of products. So apart from making recommendations on using iodine salt, we also make recommendation to add iodine in these ingredients or products. And the other sources of food rich in iodine would be seafood. But again, the most important thing would be iodine salt, would be my main recommendation. I don't know if I answer your question. Thank you. Is there any question from other participants? Currently, if there is no question, I would like to share something. In Thailand, currently, we conducted our nationwide studies on an annual basis. And we also found problem with some of the salts that we study, and we see some problem from this salt sample that we collect, and we also have observed some problem of iodine deficiency among pregnant women, but it's still very it's just a large it's just a small amount. I saw somebody named Noy raised the hand. Is there any problem? Is there any question? For those that have access to iodine salt, what are the age group of the student who have access to iodine salt? Let me repeat the question. For iodine in Lao PDR, we have problems with children under the age of 5 who had iodine deficiency. So apart from iodine salt, is there any other types of food that contain iodine? That would be my question. Thank you. As mentioned, what we are currently using at the moment is to make recommendation for iodine salt. So when prepare food, and when preparing food, you should use iodine salt to flavor it, and that would be the main recommendation. Otherwise, you can consume seafood, which is a great source for iodines. But I understand that in Laos, because of the fact that you are landlocked, maybe seafood might be difficult to find in some areas and expensive. So I would not like to recommend consuming seafood, but we may have to stress on the importance of consuming iodine salt. So in a household, a mother or someone who cook should be recommended to use iodine salt on a daily basis. But as I mentioned in my presentation, is that the quality of the iodine salt in Laos is still a problem and does not meet the required standard set by WHO. So we have to fix that problem first to make sure that the iodine salt available in the market meet the requirement and meet the standards. I don't know if I answer your question. I think what they want to ask is that what is the best time to provide iodine to children at different ages? Well, we actually want iodine from the time we were fetuses. And so if you want to supplement iodine, you have to supplement from the first day in the womb when the woman is pregnant. So the best and easiest way is to give iodine salt or iodine supplement to mothers. When the mother receive iodine, they can send it to the child. And for primary age school, for example, for the Princess Serinthorn project, we also added iodine into drinking water. So of course, all children have to drink water. And we added iodine in drinking water, but this is only in areas where they are in remote areas, closest to the border. we would add iodine into drinking water for primary school, and that's what we're doing. And if for your question, when should we provide iodine to children? We should give iodine to women during pregnancy. So children, when they're still in the pregnancy stages, and if the children live in a rural area, we would like to recommend adding iodine salt into drinking water. Thank you, doctor. So that means that when we provide supplements to pregnant women at the moment, we only provide folic acid and iron with pregnant women. So what would be great additional recommendation would be iodine, right? Yes. If you look at the previous slide in my presentation, women actually, especially pregnant women, need iodine more than other population, and it's impossible for pregnant women, to consume enough iodine on a daily basis. So that's why we made recommendation to give supplements to women. But in Thailand, we have a, a single pill, which is a combination of folic acid, iron, and iodine in one pill. And women will consume this during pregnancy. From the first day she knows she's pregnant to the day she delivers, she will continue to take this one pill, which include folic acid, iron, and iodine. Is there any other question? I saw two people raising hands. Jansai from FDD. Good morning. In the manufacturing process, which may not be part of the discussion so far, but I am interested in the technique for manufacturing salt in Thailand. I understand that what kind of uh, manufact what kind of factories are this company uh, what kind of factories produce salt in Thailand? Because are they using modern technology, or they use some very advanced technique? And if possible, I would like to be able to visit these factories. And what is the current price for potassium iodide? Because at the moment for Lao, this uh, ingredient is very expensive, and it affects the importation of salt producer. And in Thailand, when you conduct the salt qualities test, what kind of machines or techniques do you use to conduct the quality test? Because if possible, we would like to send our team to Thailand to conduct a visit, a tour study to see how salt there is produced and how do they keep it, and how do they assure the quality of iodine in salt. And for example, in Thailand, there's a brand called Prung Tip salt, and always they meet the requirement of at least 20 ppm. But in Lao PDR, we cannot always meet that requirement. So I was wondering, how do they produce this salt? And and my question is mostly geared towards the manufacturing process because I want to support the manufacturers because we still have not decide on the proper way of mixing iodine into our salt. So if you have time and opportunity, we would like to hear and study more from you. I think that iodine salt is the approach and the recommendation that would make more sense because it would be the easiest way to supplement iodine. But in Lao PDR, we consume soy sauce, fish sauce, and in Thailand, you have regulation that require producers to add iodine into fish sauce and soy sauce. Is there a requirement for the level of iodine in these ingredients? And what about the infant formula? Do you also have regulation on the level of iodine in this infant formula? And lastly, I think your presentation is very important to Lao PDR. So I would like to ask our researchers who had the opportunity to study in Thailand to disseminate information about these studies, especially to people in the remote area to be aware of the importance of iodine. If that happens, it would allow people to have a better understanding of iodine. Yes, thank you. I just want to inform you that for Thailand, we also had problems about manufacturing salt, just like Lao PDR. We started by just adding iodine manually until we develop and have a manufacturing company, large manufacturing companies such as Prungtip, which meet all of the standards. But I just want to inform you that even in Thailand, we still have small producers of salt nationwide. So the quality control is something that we have to keep an eye on. And we still have some doctors at our nutrition institution who work regularly with the FDR in Thailand. And as Mr. Jansai has mentioned, if you are interested to study the manufacturing process in Thailand, we are pleased to coordinate with that. So we would find out which manufacturing company can welcome the participant from Laos to do the study tour. I am not sure if there is any support for the uh, importation of potassium iodide. I'm not sure about that policy at the moment. So I'll have to get back to you on that. But for the test kit for UIC, for the quality of salt, you can the international standard or the gold standard would be titration. So if you want to know the quality of the salt, you can use test kit. If you are in a hurry and that's the only thing you have, you can use a test kit to test the quality of iodine salt. But otherwise, if you need high quality result, then you can add you can use titration. I don't know in Lao if you add iodine in other products. Let me take a look at the reference data. Usually it's 2 to 4 milligram of iodine in other ingredient or products. Let me get back to you on that. But from what I understand is that the fortification of iodine is probably very similar to salt in other product groups as well. And for the study tour, yes, please send us your official letter to us. We are more than welcome to coordinate with that. We have question from JSI. Good morning. I have a question that might be repetitions. During pregnancy, what is the appropriate amount of iodine for pregnant women during pregnancy? And what about in different trimester? 250 microgram. Then this is on daily amount from the first day of pregnancy until delivery. But in Thailand, we also recommend that they take this amount during breastfeeding period because iodine can be transferred to the children via breastfeeding as well. So 250 microgram per day. And this is WHO recommendation. In the chat box, doctor, we have a question. When we use iodine salt for preparing food, does it affect the food if the food is hot or cold? For iodine salt, heat does not destroy iodine. There should be no problem. So preparing food, hot or cold would not affect iodine. So whether you put your iodine salt in boiling water or soup, it will not destroy iodine. So there's no need to worry there. We still have time. Yeah. Any other questions before the remark from Dr. Ponsavan? So there might be confusion. Among our participants who visit Thailand and somehow they understand that iodine can be destroyed by heat, but this answer just reaffirm that iodine will not be destroyed by heat. Yeah, there might be some loss, but it will not be all will not be lost. I don't have any question in particular. I would like to commend you for your effort and study. I would like to ask you to continue to support the studies and research on iodine. And because initially why we selected this study is because it's part of the nutrition strategy and health strategy. And this is not something that the nutrition center can do alone. And I'm very pleased that this the result of this study was presented in Netherlands uh, last month, and I'm very pleased to be part of this study. And also, I would like to congratulate Mr. Jansai because during my researches, he provided tremendous support and a lot of useful data. And for our work, the Nutrition Center cannot work alone, and we need consistent support from relevant agencies such as the FDD, and of course, of our colleagues in Thailand. And for next week's seminar, we would like to discuss more about this issue. And I would like to also ask EU, the European Union, as the main supporter to help the policy reform in Lao PDR. And I also would like to ask support more from UNICEF or USAID. I am in Japan at the moment, and I have a lot of concern about this issue because a lot of information, because a lot of information is still lacking, and we still need a lot of support on this. Mr. Jansai, question. I would like to go back. This is the law on the fortification of iodine in condiment. So this is 2 to 3 milligrams per liters for condiments such as a fish sauce. This is the regulations from FDD Thailand or FDR. If there's no more question, then let's open the camera for photo session, and then we will do the closing by Dr. Ponsavan. I would like to ask the nutrition center to make sure that we can visit the institution nutrition in Thailand. And also I would like to get the support from the team in Japan to help us with this study visit. Can I ask if there is going to be the surveillance study for iodine in urine? Do you have any plan for that? I am not so sure, doctor, because our project is thinking of conducting the micronutrient studies, and it might includes other types of micronutrient, and there might be iodine in that list. So after visiting Netherlands, they would come back and conduct some brainstorming session. And I think now that you asked this question, the study for the primary age children and pregnant women, what is more of a representative data? If it's me, I would recommend you do the study for both group. The school age children can be representative for other types of population, but pregnant women, they need iodine the most. So if we conduct the studies on children, you would not see the whole picture, especially from pregnant women. So if you're going to conduct any studies, you should think about these two groups of population on iodine deficiency. Yes, because we together with the nutrition center, we have this seminar every month, and your topic is very interesting. So we would contact you for future collaboration or study to improve the nutrition status in Lao PDR, because I think communicating in Thai is easier to understand, and I hope that you would continue to provide any support to us. Yeah, I am pleased to provide any support if it's the topic I I am not familiar with. I would ask other colleagues of mine to join and work with you, because we have limited budget, and when we conduct this type of online seminar, they can also listen to the seminar. I think if there is no more question, I would like to ask Dr. Ponsawan to give us the closing remark. I would like to ask everyone to make iodine a priority, because we focus more on the micronutrient, and I think iodine should be the main micronutrient we should focus. Vitamin A or other supplement, we can take it from other sources, but iodine is very difficult to take them and very risky to take iodine, just pure iodine directly. So I would like to ask the nutrition center to encourage and makes iodine a more prominent micronutrient in our efforts to address malnutrition. And you should start that from pregnancy uh, period. And I would like to ask a nutrition center to consider adding them into your policy. Thank you. We are going to do the minutes of meeting, and then we will report to the head of nutrition center after this seminar. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for staying with us. And I would like to also thanks in particularly to Dr. Sueppong Gowachirapant for your presentation and studies. And I was also involved in the previous studies on iodine. I think it's 2014, and we haven't conducted any studies since then. And I'm very pleased to have these studies conducted in Xieng Khouang because there are still issues of iodine deficiency in some of these provinces. And we are very pleased to have this data as a good reference for all of us. And I would like to, use this to discuss further with relevant parties. And thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and taking your time to join us in this seminar. And I would like to thank everyone for your contribution for the studies, and for, of course, to Dr. Sueppong for the presentation today. And in the future, if we have enough budget, we might invite you to Lao to conduct a workshop in Lao PDR. But of course, there is still a lot of possibility for collaboration in the future. And on that note, I would like to close the seminar today, and I apologize that the head of the nutrition center cannot be here to do the closing. Thank you very much. Thank you. Goodbye all.